For Sunday, the 17th of October, I'm Randy Kure, reporting via live from Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me today on Facebook and Twitter at What's Up Podcast. If you're catching today's episode via your favorite podcatcher, thank you so much for the download. We are 2 days away from the start of the NBA regular season, the 75th season of the league. And we saw some top talent in Tokyo for the Olympics. It felt like yesterday, let alone the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks lifted the Larry O'Brien Trophy. What can we expect from the upcoming season? One of the most hardest working men, I am happy to know, has joined me for a second time. Mikey Domagala from not only the Truth podcast, but founder of NBA Buzz, Inside Buzz, creeping that much closer to 3 million followers, joins me from Long Island, New York. Mikey, thank you so much for joining me. And I guess congratulations are in order for graduating from your journalism program at Long Island University.
Yeah, Randy, I appreciate you having me back on, and you're spot on with my resume. No blimps in there, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and it's an impressive resume to say the very least. So on today's episode, we'll get Mikey's thoughts to where things may stand with the likes of Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving. Things are a little prickly, to say the least, within those two All-Stars and their respective teams. How he'll think the regular season will pan out, especially with some vested interest between the two of us with our Toronto Raptors as well as the New York Knicks. Some very exciting possibilities happening on Broadway. And finally, we'll definitely talk about a big accomplishment Mikey had, being able to report during the Tokyo Olympics. But first, Mikey is also a big baseball fan, and I'd be remiss to chat about his squad, the quote unquote evil empire that is the New York Yankees. They do have the second highest payroll in the league, over $200 million. But Mikey, it wasn't a season to remember. They did lose the wild card game against Boston. Is the world about to end in the Bronx? How would you classify the 21 season?
You know, if you're a Yankee fan, you could deal with it because you almost expected it. If you're a Met fan, you're loving it because they could talk all the smack that they want, even though they didn't even come close to the playoffs. But as a Yankee fan, me expecting it is because I just watched the most inconsistent year of Yankee baseball that I've ever seen. 15 years of watching the Yankees, diehard fan. They'd win, of course, that 13-game win streak. Then they turn around and lose 7 straight, the next 7. So that was the definition of this past season for the Yankees. It's like, all right, we're gonna go on this tear of smashing home runs, or we're gonna go on this tear of just striking out batter by batter. So again, of course, I was disappointed they couldn't win that wild card series, that wild card game. I would have been at the stadium if it was at Yankee Stadium. Maybe they would have had home field advantage, and the fans would have got them that win. Maybe it lit a fire under them at Fenway. They were putting in work all year, but it just didn't work. But disappointed, but I almost expected it. The team is way too inconsistent. They need a lot more for sure.
Yeah, it is funny to think when you say you almost expect it, because for a person like myself, you just see so much Yankee success with the three-peat that took place in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it has been since 2009, and they obviously invested in a lot in Garrett Cole, with Stanton, Judge, and Aroldis Chapman, and so on. But where do you think, if you could place where the concern is, do you know what they need to work on?
Yeah, they definitely need another starting pitcher, quality guy, and of course more contact and speed. This Yankees team is just boom or bust with their home runs, and it's not the best thing. I mean, I remember, I think it was the wild card game. They were down at 1.2 or something. They had runners on base. Stanton walked. Then you get Joey Gallo batting like 190 after Stanton. Like, you need a contact guy to bring in those runs. Joey Gallo struck out or something like that. So as much as I like Gallo, you need somebody like a Starling Marte to come in, like a great fielder, great contact guy, like a 305 hitter, could steal bases. Somebody like that they need in that lineup who could consistently get on base, steal bases. Not 38-year-old Brett Gardner doing that job. You know what I mean? So less home run guys, more of that. Giancarlo Stanton grew on me, so a lock in the offense would have to be Judge, LeMahieu, and Stanton. The rest I could do without, to be honest.
Yeah, there seems to be a perception of a lot more home runs and not a lot of small ball these days. And it'll be interesting how a team like the Toronto Blue Jays, if they are able to contend with the Yankees, definitely for next season. But speaking of baseball and baseball within Canada, sports fans in my country, at least, may be excited to the possibility of the Tampa Bay Rays splitting their season with the Montreal Expos. Very quickly, Mikey, for a guy and, appreciating the fact that you may not remember the Expos when they were in Major League Baseball, from an American's perspective, especially someone of your age generation, do you see Montreal working out? Does Montreal scream to you as a viable baseball market?
It doesn't scream, but there's noise, if you want to call it that. I think there's a lot of potential there because of the Expos. I mean, they were huge back then. And then I think the Blue Jays early in the 90s won, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
that too. And then of course, Kawhi winning in Toronto was huge for the country of Canada, that fan base. So I think that's definitely a big market for Canadians up there in baseball, for Tampa Bay to maybe go up there. That brings in many more Americans wanting to watch them. Say there's Canadian fans who, can't really get down to Florida all the time. Now they're not too far away. And the Raptors, of course, you got to give some kind of credit to, this is off baseball, but Drake. I mean, Drake has connected Canadians with Americans in sports and music and culture in a lot of different ways. And if he could get on the baseball wave a little bit, that could really be big for them as well.
And it is funny you mention of the Raptors, and is there a correlation between non-hockey markets, for example, and the success of Canadian franchises like the Toronto Raptors? You mentioned Drake. It is funny. There was a Tupac Shakur video when he was performing on the Arsenio Hall show. He was rocking a Montreal Expos hats. So, is there? It's been a number of years. Montreal was quite embraced, but this was before a social media era. And my perspective, I'm assuming that you may agree that the world is a lot smaller. And
Yeah.
if Tampa, with respect to Rays fans, I do have family in Tampa. The Rays just hasn't really connected in terms of a following from day one.
Yeah.
Their stadium is what it is. So
I mean, even in the MLB, like ask the average person who Mike Trout is, they might not know who that is. It's almost like the Rays. They're this awesome like juggernaut of a team right now, and they don't have they got fans, but if you go on social media, you're not seeing them all the time like you see LeBron and the Lakers. You know what I mean? Even though the Rays are a really good squad, so it's all different, but it would be good. It would be good for Canada.
yeah, yeah, and Tampa, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. One of the most incredible baseball programs, and really outside of the Tampa St. Pete's area, how many Rays fans do you really have? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But how about we talk some hoops? And every off season, of course, there seems to be an exciting off season with free agent acquisition and the like, players switching teams. And we'll definitely talk more about specifically with regards to who you think had really impressed this off season.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, we'll talk about the offseason. Every offseason, there's always some kind of drama. It's like ridiculous. Who's switching? Now it's Kyrie and Ben Simmons. But who I'm most impressed with has to be either Chicago or Miami. I mean, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, but I cannot wait to watch the Chicago Bulls. Improvements in Lonzo Ball. Obviously, Zach LaVine and Vucevic are still on the team. DeMar DeRozan comes in from San Antonio to give a mid-range scoring dynamic. And of course, off the bench, Alex Caruso. And for Miami, the addition of PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry, not even just on the offensive end, on the defensive end, they got dogs, that team. Bam Adebayo along with them, Jimmy Butler. So those two I'm really impressed with. And got to give credit to my Knicks too. They had some nice additions. So that, looking at those three teams, the East has become a lot stronger than it's been over recent time. Used to always be the West outdoing the East. Now it seems like, yeah, it's pretty balanced, and the East top five, it's gonna be competitive.
Well, I am scratching my head with Chicago, and as a Raptors guy, DeMar DeRozan obviously has a special place in my heart. But is Ball and DeRozan and Caruso those kind of players that could get Chicago over the hump in a holistic sense? Could they win an extra round? Maybe. But do you think that they have the leadership, obviously with Vucevic, they have what it takes to make a conference final and pass that?
No. See, that's the thing. As much as I like their moves and everything like that, they're not going to be championship bound. Conference finals, maybe a 10% chance, small chance. They're just not there yet. I don't know if it's LaVine really coming into his own even more, a better bench maybe, because they do have the pieces. But you're right. I mean, are those pieces going to be enough? I don't think so. Look at the competition. I mean, Milwaukee is still, head honcho in the East. No, I don't think so. It's like the same thing with my Knicks. Like, I'm not going to come on here and tell you that they're going to win the championship next year. That's very unlikely. Even make a conference finals, even make the NBA finals. Like, that's pretty unlikely, even though they're going to be a good team. There's just so much competition out there. And that's what I hate, like, my fan base on NBA Buzz. Like, you can't talk to Lakers fans at all. You can't say anything wrong about anybody on that team. I'll be straight up about everything, because I see, and for 10 years on NBA Buzz, everything at a broader perspective, no bias. So my Knicks, they've made drastic improvements. They're in kind of that same situation as Chicago, where they'll improve, they'll maybe get a little far, but championship, I don't know.
Well, to that as well, though, I was quite surprised at the Kemba Walker experience in Boston. Uh, I thought that they were going to run with it. I thought they would definitely contend with Milwaukee. Uh, Now Kemba has signed with the Knicks. Uh, do you? I think that this could only be a recipe for success.
Yeah.
How confident are you specifically with regards to Kemba Walker
Oh,
on Broadway?
extremely, because Broadway is where he was born, for one. So, if you're a pro athlete or something like that, you'd want to be on a Canadian team. You'd want to be on the Raptors. You wouldn't want to be down in, let's say, Oregon on the Portland Trailblazers, away from home. You'd want to be playing in front of your people, in front of your fans. So I think that, for one, will light a fire under Kemba to really become the Kemba of old, like 50-point scoring Kemba, where he wasn't that in Boston. He did deal with injuries, so that has to do with it. So I think rejuvenated Kemba in New York, just miles from where he grew up in the Bronx, and healthy, will be great. And I think him signing like a $7 million deal after being bought out or whatever it was from OKC, this is a year for him to really bounce back and get that money in the future. So I think there's a lot of tangibles that'll make Kemba, like a 18 to 20 points per game scorer in there and looking like his old self.
Well, and you did mention about how you can't say anything about the Los Angeles Lakers, but I'm going to have to ask you about those Lakers. They did sign Carmelo Anthony and Russell Westbrook, two surefire Hall of Famers, along with LeBron and AD. They also have Dwight Howard returning back to the team, Malik Monk. They have Kent Bazemore. on paper, it looks like a dream team.
Yeah.
However, do you think that it's possible that there are too many, say, hands in the cookie jar? If there's too many cooks in the kitchen, do you think that this is a squad that can identify their roles to build a championship team?
Whew, I think just the names alone and the skills of all those players has enough to be a championship team. But then again, like you said, can they all buy in? Can they all really get in their own positions to sacrifice touches, sacrifice scoring? And Russell Westbrook, I think, is the stain on that team. As good as he is, as good as he was last year at the end of the season, and you could see it in this preseason, he's going to be stepping on LeBron's toes all season long in the ways of, all right, like LeBron's become a pretty good shooter in his later career. Westbrook, not even close to really a good shooter. Very, very consistent from three. Turns the ball over all the time. So he needs the ball in his hands to really be successful. Westbrook. So does LeBron. LeBron playing off ball just it's not going to happen as much. I think the problem there is going to be LeBron and Russ coming together, wanting to play make every time, stepping on each other's toes. I just can't see them winning the championship. They're an old team. Injuries are going to happen. Injuries have already happened, and if Anthony Davis can't stay healthy, it's a goner for sure.
It'd be interesting to see. We'll definitely see. Get your whole thoughts on where the regular season will pan out, and perhaps beyond that with the playoffs. But it also seemed that Melo really did accept a secondary role
Yes.
while he was with Portland. So Washington and Russell Westbrook, he seemed to really thrive with the Wizards and had a really good run in his short time there. Could he translate that to the Lakers? We'll see. But Mikey, we talk about these legendary franchises. We talk about the Bulls. We talk about the Lakers. They are no strangers to championship success. Of course, last season there was two relative newcomers who made the NBA Finals. What do you think the league would rather see? Obviously, you have X amount of teams, and is it more of a benefit to have teams stack the deck with the Nets and the Lakers, or is it to their benefit to have a newcomer like Phoenix and Milwaukee in the final series?
Well, the NBA, of course, wanted Lakers last year, say against the Brooklyn Nets. So the LeBron versus KD narrative could still be there and all that. So do all the 12 to 16-year-old kids out there wanting, the head honchos of the NBA to really be in the finals. But real basketball fans will understand how important last year was for the league as a whole, for overseas basketball, for seeing Chris Paul really getting his shot, Devin Booker early in his career getting his shot at the finals. I loved it. I thought it was amazing seeing a new face. How many times did we see the Warriors and the Cavs face off? 3 times. The first 2 were great. Absolutely great. They split. Third time, it's just, oh my God, why am I watching this? It's like LeBron had nobody that year. Everybody was hurt. Warriors were beyond stacked that year. It was like, I wasn't even into it. And I'm sure many fans weren't because it was just so played out and the same for 3 years. And then Kawhi came in. So that was very refreshing. Same thing this year with Giannis, a new face. And then in the West, Booker and CP3 and the Suns, just great for the NBA.
Yeah, and who could forget Devin Booker's reaction the moment that they lost, and when he said "damn," and it was for somebody who had an affection for Charles Barkley's run in Phoenix. It was great to see them, and to have Giannis win a championship. He just wore his heart on his sleeve, and that admiration he has for Milwaukee was great. However, beyond the star power of Giannis. There's a couple of issues with regards to some key all-star players. Ben Simmons to start with. It's reported that he has reported to the team, but he apparently wants out. It even got to the point where some Sixers players reportedly wanted to speak to Simmons in person. He did not want to talk with anybody. What is going on in Philly? When I think of Ben Simmons and reviews on Ben Simmons, it's always negative. He always
Yeah.
seems to have rubbed people the wrong way.
It's just it's social media playing into it again. It's like when Danny Green was having trouble and a little inconsistent shooting with the Lakers. All right, Danny Green's an all-time shooter, but then he starts tailing off a little bit, and then social media gets on that tail off, and it just turns him into the ground. Same thing with Ben Simmons. It's almost like everybody knows he's a good player, great defender, great passer. They know he's not a bad talent. He's this freak athlete. It's just because he can't shoot, the media takes it and just runs with it straight down into the ground. So, and what he did in the playoffs, he didn't really come out to play in the playoffs much, but social media is behind that. And Randy, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before I get that Woj notification that something's up with Ben Simmons again. He's going to get traded, or something's going to happen with him. It's just a matter of time. It's like relationships in the office space. Say somebody rats on their other, somebody on their team or something, or their squad.
Yeah.
Your eyes are always going to be suspect against them. You're going to be like, what's going on with him? So it's like the same thing with the entire Philly squad looking at Ben Simmons like, are you even loyal to this team? Like, do you even want to be here? Like, why'd you pull that act? You know what I mean? That's in the back of all their minds. So I think Doc Rivers isn't too fond of him at all anymore. He wants him gone. And I think they're going to just try to package him somewhere else.
Well, one of the more difficult stories, of course, and the more difficult issues regarding NBA superstars is Kyrie Irving. He did not report to the bubble in Orlando. He has refused to report. It's believed that he is not vaccinated, and because of New York law, he is not able to play in Brooklyn. Yeah, on the surface, yeah, we could see that he is a contrarian, if you will, that he is going against the norm and making his feelings known. But do you think is there something beyond that? You take a look at someone like Naomi Osaka, for example, and that's who I kind of relate this to, in the sense that she is somebody who took a stand, has had some visible breakdowns. Is this something that the media and fans may need to learn a little bit more, that Kyrie Irving could potentially be proof of how difficult it is to be a wealthy athlete or celebrity or whatever the case may be?
It's so hard to say because there's a lot of opinions I see on this, my opinions, and it's almost like none of them are wrong, because are you really wrong to have an opinion on something like that? Because there's freedom of him to choose, and then there's freedom of the Brooklyn Nets to get rid of him because it's best for their interest. Even though, you want to respect Kyrie's interest, it's, how it is with all this COVID stuff. It's so hard to really pinpoint what's right, what's wrong. In my opinion, I won't even say in my opinion. If I was him and there were millions and millions on the line and your career in basketball on the line, and this may be the year to win a championship. Now, I'm not saying health is more important than basketball. I think he's got to do what's best for the team, really talk to some doctors in-depthly about everything and just get vaccinated. I mean, he's taking a stance. I respect it like everything else, but the Brooklyn Nets are going to have to do what's best for them. A player like Kyrie, who they've invested so much into, money, time, players they've brought in to build around him because he was there, they're gonna have to trade him, and I think it's gonna happen. Kyrie, I saw, was pushing to kind of get the NBA and the city of New York to really start. I don't know if it's get him accepted into not being vaccinated and playing, but I don't think anybody's going to budge, Randy. And I think Brooklyn's going to have to get rid of him.
Yeah, and the fact that Brooklyn was considered a strong favorite to represent the East in the NBA Finals, where would they fall if Kyrie doesn't report for the season? So closer to my heart is obviously the Toronto Raptors, and fans are still in mourning to the fact that Kyle Lowry is not on the team. He's taken his talents to South Beach. However, the fans have blown a huge sigh of relief to the fact that team president Masai Ujiri is staying. First off, where do you see the Raptors this year? It's a lot of pieces have been removed from that championship team a couple of years ago.
They really have. And, Randy, I'm going to keep it straight with you. Just like I kept it straight with my Knicks. They're going to be on the cusp. I think they're gonna be good in a couple years because they got good young pieces. Scotty Barnes coming in, he's going to be really good, really dynamic player, and he's a big body. But right now, this season, looking at their team, I could see them falling, between 9 and 11 in the East. I could see them being a little inconsistent because they're a young team. I mean, OG Anunoby, coming into his own and really going to be the main focus on that team. You got Dragic at the 1, Scotty Barnes up there. They just don't have enough yet, Randy. They got to bring in some more pieces. So I could see them in the 9 to 11 range with a couple more seasons, maybe 2 seasons until the playoffs come back.
I definitely agree with the fact that, you have a little bit of seasoning, and with the likes of Van Vliet, of course, having more experience as in a leadership role, and obviously Pascal Siakam. I am quite nervous on putting so much hopes on any rookie. And Scotty Barnes, of course, has the $1 million smile. He seems to have, it seems to be known for a glasses half full kind of positive thinking guy. But when you are in a pressure cooker of professional sports, obviously there's going to be a comparison between him and Jalen Suggs, the rest of the draft class of 21. I am of the opinion, though, that a first round playoff match can happen. I think that, okay, so who do you have in the East? Obviously, Brooklyn is still going to make the playoffs. The Knicks, my goodness, where are they going to finish between 2, 3, 4? Home court advantage, I definitely think is possible for is expected for the first round. But to think that the Raptors may not make the playoffs, personally, I think will be a disappointment.
I mean, for the city, I would say it would be a disappointment. But, Randy, it's like at times last year they're inconsistent, and they had more last year than they do now, in my opinion. It's tough. It's tough because it's possible that they'll be in there because the 6, 7, 8 in the East, there's a lot of teams I could think of that could sneak right in there. Toronto could be one, but there's others. Like the Magic are an up and coming team. I'm not saying the Magic are going to be better than the Raptors, but I feel like they're not far off. And like if you grade them, like the Raptors are like a B, maybe the Magic are like a B minus. It's like they're like in that same grade. And there's a lot of teams in the East like that. So, I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, Orlando with signing Robin Lopez. You have Andre Drummond. He's in Philadelphia. That's going to be interesting.
Philadelphia is also in the East. So they're going to be in that 5 to 6, 7 range. You know what I mean? Even maybe 4. So I don't know if Toronto makes it this year, my man.
Interesting stuff. We'll definitely see what happens for sure. But very quickly, with Masai Ujiri, there was a lot of pins and needles with regards to Raptors fans on what Ujiri's plans are. Are you surprised he stuck around in Toronto?
Uh, no, I wasn't surprised. I really can't see him anywhere else. I mean, he built that team. He built that championship team, and it seemed like, I'm looking on as a New Yorker. It seemed like Canada really likes that guy, and he really loves the city, loves the country, and I just can't see him leaving. I want to get your thoughts on that, actually.
Well, you know what? Nobody really thought that he would leave Toronto to go to another NBA team. There was talk of him possibly joining the Knicks, but that didn't happen. A lot of people, myself especially, thought that he was thinking beyond basketball, like a UN-like role.
Mhm.
I personally wasn't because of his Giants of Africa charity and the international scope that he does carry. He has broken bread with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for example, and of course, key political figures all over the world. Uh, I wasn't really, for one, buying the whole aspect of him taking a ownership stake in an NBA franchise, but yeah, no, you are correct, very much so, in the sense that the for a country as expansive as Canada, it is a small community with regards to sports beyond hockey. We've fallen in love with soccer over the past few years, and we'll definitely have a little chat about the World Cup qualifiers in a moment. But when it comes to any sport that is not hockey, and there is a international scope to it, like tennis, like golf, for example, baseball. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for heroes to be made. Masai Ujiri, what he did for Toronto, definitely one of them. But of a global scope, definitely add to your resume. You were a part of the 2020 Olympics. You had a chance to interview some key NBA, some members of USA's men's national team, at least. How much of an accomplishment was that for you?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things that I've done. Of course, Damian Lillard and Bam Adebayo I interviewed, and those two are my biggest gets so far. I've had a couple NBA legends on, like Sean Kemp, Nancy Lieberman, but when you talk to Damian Lillard, arguably top 10 player in the NBA, one of the best shooters in the league, and somebody every NBA fan knows. I mean, he's all over the TV screen with his advertisements, his three-point shooting, and all that. That was pretty incredible. And talking to him and really asking him, I went in, Randy. I mean, when you get an opportunity like that, you got to make it count. I went in and asked him, what's harder, basically, international player of the NBA. Now, that's a question everybody's into. Luca once said it a couple years back and it went viral. So I know that's going viral. And luckily it did. SportsCenter picked up on it, the ESPN Instagram account and some other ones, and it went viral. And Adebayo was also cool, but Dame's just a cool cat, man. He just really wanted to talk. I asked him two questions, actually. Forget the other one off the top of my head. He really wanted to talk. Adebayo was like, all right, I just practiced, got all my stuff on. I'm trying to go back to the hotel room. He was a little shorter with his answers, but Dame was the man. Cool guy.
And yeah, I'll definitely try and find the interview clips and repurpose it on my social media channels. But yeah, if you haven't followed Mikey's incredible work, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram, at NBA Buzz, at Inside Buzz, also the Truth Podcast, which you could catch on your favorite podcatchers, as well as YouTube. Some really great stuff. But very quickly, and with regards to the Olympics, so you're interviewing player A, whether it's a feature or whether it's the Olympics, because we are talking about the Olympics, is it that much more of a, oh my God, I am talking about this event? And does the emotions sort of conjure up that much more for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was way different because it's like I'm in there with some of my favorite writers in the Zoom meeting. Some very prominent people were in there. And just the entire situation, it was like 4:30 a.m. here. I was on like 2 hours of sleep. It ran from like 5 to 6 a.m. So I mean that window, that's like everybody's asleep at that time. So it's like way overnight. I'm down here in my studio, just dead quiet here. I got my questions list ready and everything like that. I'm in with all prominent figures, and I'm like, oh geez, am I even gonna get a question? I'm like, I'm doing this. I told people I'm doing this. Am I gonna get a question? I'm like, oh geez. So then he finally called out, Mikey Domagala of Inside Buzz, and that was a relief in its own, even before I even asked the question. So then I asked, and yeah, man, I mean, I don't really feel pressure, but there's a little pressure in that to come up and really, produce and get something out of them that could go viral. And luckily it all worked out, and I could add that that is added on my resume. And that was really good experience, man. And to be a part of it is something I'll never forget. I mean, you interview some players, now they're your favorite players. Now I just want to watch Dame all day long because, he saw me across the screen and he knows who I am, so to speak.
Perfect. Yeah, great stuff. And the sky's the limit for yourself, especially throughout the next couple of years as a reporter. But love to see what how things transpire for you in 2024 when the Olympics are in Paris. Maybe you can make your way over there. So unfortunate that the fact that the Tokyo Olympics was during a pandemic, and yeah, if you are able to take a selfie with you in front of the Eiffel Tower reporting during the Olympics, I'd be really, really proud for you. But
Yeah,
as
that
proud
would
as
that
I
would be
am.
nice. That would definitely be nice. And the contact I got to do it, I actually got a little late in the Olympics. Believe it or not, I could have been doing that all Olympics long. It's just this contact came to me. I realized I knew this guy and sent him a quick email, and he's like, "Yeah, come on, and you can interview him." I'm like,
Oh,
"Okay." So I could have had KD under my belt and all the other guys earlier, but it's a learning experience of really what I could do. And if I reach out to the right people and this contact, I could really get some good stuff going.
all about networking, all about
Yeah.
networking. Absolutely, absolutely. So Mikey, I do want to end things off with a little bit of fun, like we did the last time, and want to get your thoughts on a couple of questions, not only beyond basketball, but a couple of on a couple of other things, starting with a little trivia question that I created for you. And for those of you who are downloading this via podcatcher, I am showing Mikey a football helmet. It's gridiron football, and it is a white helmet with a teal pickaxe and a gold boom, like I guess a caricature of a striking gold. So Mikey, I want to ask you, is this helmet, it is the gold miners. Where did
Okay.
this gold miners helmet come from? Is this from Canada's top university football program? Is this a fictional team from Canada's top dramatic television series? Or is this the Canadian Football League's first US-based team? This is the
Hmm.
gold miners. What do you think?
I watch Jeopardy every night and I do watch trivia shows. So I'm going to go with, I think US based team might be a little too obvious because I'm from the US. I'm going to go with it's from a TV series.
This is, in fact, the Sacramento Gold Miners football helmet, Canada's first U.S. based
Oh, okay.
team. Yes. So
I thought that
in
was a
the
little too obvious. Okay.
it was the mid 90s where the Canadian Football League did expand to the US, and the intentions were right. There was a team in Sacramento, as I showed you. Actually, there was a team in Baltimore as well that did create a little bit of buzz, but then the Browns moved to Baltimore, and then obviously you couldn't compete with that kind of firepower. So yeah, no, I picked that helmet up, and you know, the U.S. experience in Canada, A for effort, but yeah, it was an absolute failure. So, and actually, you're going to go meet some friends a little bit later to catch some football. So, yeah, I hope you have a good time out.
Yep.
So, hey, between the two of us, I mean, we could be quite adversaries into the terms of the teams that we support.
Uh-huh.
As a Knicks fan versus a Raptors fan, as a Blue Jays fan versus a Yankees fan. Of course, as a Canadian versus an American. And as right now, there is a break in World Cup of soccer qualifying. Of course, Canada and the United States are vying for a spot for the 22 Men's World Cup in Qatar. And I do have to ask you, how much of a soccer fan are you? Have you been following qualifications for the World Cup?
You know how our stupid Americans are. We really don't care about soccer too much, too many of us. But to be honest, I just watched the World Cup. I really don't know about the qualifiers or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the only Americans who really like soccer are the ones with like international backgrounds or whose family came over from wherever recently. But I don't know, the average American, I feel like we're just not into soccer as much, and I'm really not. I don't know if that's because the media doesn't cover it nearly as much as basketball or football or anything like that. But other than the World Cup, no, I don't do much soccer watching, and I never really attended any high school soccer games for my high school. So no, I'm not really a big soccer guy. I know you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, no, I've been a big TFC, Toronto FC soccer fan, and when World Cup qualifiers do take place, I went to there was 5 qualifiers for the Brazil 2014 World Cup, and it's just such a great for me as a soccer fan or like a sports fan in general, just the whole tournament aspect of this global event that involves essentially every country in the world is just so intriguing to me. And up until this year, Canada, of course, has no World Cup experience. I mean, they did make one World Cup, they didn't score a goal. It was Mexico 1986. And of course, the United States, they have an incredible World Cup history, Women's World Cup. They've won twice. 2018, the men didn't make it, but USA has such an incredible soccer program, and you know, it is amazing to see. Like in Nashville, you have sellout crowds for the USA Canada match that did take place, and MLS soccer is definitely on the rise. Soccer, and look, there is obviously between basketball, football. The history of certain sports have just lasted for so long, and it just seems that soccer is on a like rocketing to towards getting more recognition. Really excited to see.
I do know about NYCFC because I did a feature on them in high school, which was
Mm.
cool. But I do see more commercials and more advertisements for their games. I checked out their games in like 2016 when I was doing stuff on them. It's interesting, but I don't know. Soccer's just not my bag, my man.
No, no, no. Hey, to
Yep.
each his own for sure. Yeah, obviously, the pandemic being well over a year and a half in. I'm not sure if you personally have gone to a live sporting event since the pandemic. Have you? Haven't you? If you haven't, which event would you ideally love to see?
I mean, other than a couple of LIU post college football games, no, I haven't actually. Like on the big scale of you know, baseball, basketball, football. But of course, I got to go see my Knicks in person. I mean, I'm just a 40-minute train ride away into MSG. So to watch this new squad, man, Randy, every New Yorker's in love with this team. If you thought New York was really behind them last year, you got to see this year. I mean, with all these new additions, the preseason MSG was rocking as if it was a playoff game. It was unreal. So that's my next stop. I'll go one day with my girlfriend. I'd like to get a good matchup. You know, you want to see a big dog come into town and really watch them live. I saw LeBron a couple times live, so seeing him again would be nice. Haven't seen KD live. And you know the Nets Knicks games are always a show, so that'll be nice. Maybe I'll lock down those tickets soon.
Right on. And curious, have you seen a Nets game just period at Barclays Center?
Play against the Nets during the D'Angelo Russell era, and that was very exciting because that Nets team was terrific. And seeing LeBron and was AD around? No, wait, no, AD wasn't around yet, so it was before that time of that season with LeBron. And seeing him live was incredible. LeBron's wife was a couple rows down, so I said hi to her, which was cool. And
Nice.
we were a couple rows back, so that was a cool experience. The Barclays Center isn't the best for basketball, but it'll do. MSG can't beat that.
Oh, for sure. During the pandemic, the wife and I had a conversation, and just that whole realization of seizing the day. And if there is a chance that, well, just any game period, obviously Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. And if the wife and I is able to see the Raptors at MSG, really hope that that we could go, and B, that I'd be able to join you and maybe have a drink and just lift a glass to basketball and just life in general.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. You better hit me up.
No, most definitely.
Yep.
Hey, listen, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Knicks. Obviously, you mentioned that there's a lot of excitement on Broadway for this team for the first time in a while. Where do you think the Knicks are going to end up this year?
You know, they were fourth last year, so you could only think they're going to get better. I could see like a 5 to 7 more wins, and maybe. But then again, the East is stronger than last year, so it's tough. So I could see another fourth in the East, third in the East. Very excited for this team, Randy. For the first time in a while, they got a lot of really good young pieces. Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett is still like 20 years old, which is incredible. Mitchell Robinson, like 23. Then the rookies, Quentin Grimes, a shooter. Miles McBride out of West Virginia is like a two-way player. And you know, the sky's the limit for this team. And the best thing about this team is there's a combination of veterans and rookies and then in between. So this team is going to be good and growing for years to come. And when was the last time I could say that about a Knicks team? I mean, you know, it's a blessing.
Absolutely. And with the success of NBA in general, the fact that the Knicks have not really been a part of the conversation, it to me, it could be like the 2016 Chicago Cubs. You get a success story out of the Knicks, and that would just garner so much attention from new basketball fans. Absolutely. So very quickly, very quickly, I do want to mention I'm thinking that the Knicks are going to finish third. There is something about Brooklyn that I'm not overly convinced. I mean,
a lot of that lies on the shoulders of Kyrie.
Absolutely, and that's exactly where I'm going with this. If Kyrie doesn't play, I think that Miami is going to be really tough to overcome, and obviously with Milwaukee, that kind of experience that they had. I think you got Milwaukee and Miami going for top spot. I think the Knicks are going to finish third. That's the way I see it.
Listen, yeah. I'm not going to argue too much about that, but Randy, all I could say is it's almost like since Luka and Trey were drafted in 2018, I've been saying oh, this is going to be one of the best years for the NBA. There's so many good teams. There's so many good rookies. It's like basketball and the NBA has grown so much over the last, say, 5-6 years that there's so many new the rookie classes coming in are loaded and they help their teams tremendously that there's really no bad team out there. It's just the head dogs are so good that they're going to knock off a team who's not as good as them. And every team is exciting. Every team has young players. And man, this season's going to be incredible. The East and the West are both stacked up. And I just can't wait. And my Knicks are in the mix. So I'll be watching every night.
So who's going to take the finals?
Ooh, nice segue into that. Man, that is incredibly, incredibly hard. I'll say Miami comes out the East. I can't say the Lakers. Golden State comes out the West.
Really? What makes you think Golden State will do it?
It's just people are sleeping on them way too much. Clay's back. They got Otto Porter Jr. off the bench, who's a starter on almost any other team in this league. They got a couple of young guys like Kuminga and Moses Moody. They got their center, James Wiseman, 20 years old, another year of growth. I mean, you know, you add those guys around Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. You got Draymond. When all his guys are around, Draymond's playing like an all-star. And, you know, people are sleeping on him. The Lakers just aren't doing it for me. I could see Golden State coming out the West, Miami out of the East, and I would say, whew, man, I'm just going to call it Golden State because if I predict that now, I'll sound like a genius.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You will.
Because you cannot, you know, doubt Stephen Curry, what he can do, erupt for 40 any night. Even if Klay Thompson is a third of what he was and averages 20 points per game and is still a good defender, that's tremendous for them.
And the fact that you add in someone like Andrew Wiggins as well.
And Wiggins,
yeah. I mean, Golden State sounds like a very good pick for sure. I think that especially with the Lakers and the pieces that they have, you know, I am thinking that Westbrook I don't know, call it I am not a Westbrook guy at all.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something that's going to there's something telling me that because the clock is ticking for him and just with the experience that the Lakers did have winning the championship a season prior, that he's going to do whatever it takes. I do think Miami will come out, but I think the Lakers are going to join him. And it's amazing that we've gone this entire conversation, didn't even say the word Los Angeles Clippers at all.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like they're on the back burner now that Kawhi's hurt. But I think with the Lakers, they're going to hurt from within. I think there's going to be some tension there from a few of them. You know, I think the fans, like a Ben Simmons situation, are going to get on Westbrook if he's not performing, and it's just going to start. There's going to be some turn on Westbrook with the fan base. And injuries, I think the injury bug is going to catch them just because of their age. I mean, it's almost inevitable. You know, Randy, it's LeBron heading in to year 19, I believe, 18, whatever it is. I think 19.
I think it is 19.
It's like, all right, LeBron is still going to be LeBron, but this is going to be the year where he's not going to be that incredibly dynamic player. He's still going to be there, but the explosions, you're going to see a little bit off. I think this is going to be the first year of a slight decline from LeBron James. That's not a bad thing because he's still going to average like 24, 7, and 7, which is incredible, but a slight off. And Anthony Davis just needs to stay healthy for him.
So, Mikey, what do you have planned for the upcoming season? Tell us what you got going on, NBA Buzz, Inside Buzz. What do you have planned?
Yeah, well, for NBA Buzz and all the platforms, just continuously on a daily basis, keeping up with the league, the trade rumors, and all that stuff. For me personally, I'm looking for jobs right now. So if anybody's looking, you know, for a 22-year-old hungry kid in the journalism, basketball world, I'm definitely looking for jobs in that sense. And for Inside Buzz and the Truth, we'll be continuing just interviewing pro athletes and putting out the best content as possible, unique content where I could go viral and my interviews could really make their way through the NBA world. So, just consistency is key, Randy. I've been doing it for 10, 11 years now, and, just got to keep the pace.
And where can they find you?
Yeah, so at Instagram, on Instagram, at Mikey Domagala is my personal, at inside_buzz, at official NBA Buzz, and you could find NBA Buzz on Facebook, where I'm at my biggest of about 2.7 million followers, and at Truth Podcast ESPN, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, excuse me, and it's almost like just type in my name, Mikey Domagala, and everything will come up. It's that simple enough.
Yeah. So, Mikey, once again, I really appreciate you and the time that you have given to me. It really is a pleasure to know you, to have you on my podcast, and really excited to see how the future shapes up for you. You're really doing some great things. Congratulations on your graduation, on being a part of the Olympics. Continued success for you, my friend. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And it's great knowing you too. And of course, I always see you in the NBA Buzz comments. So I'll be engaged with you on there.
He is Mikey Domagala from not only the Truth Podcast, but from NBA Buzz, Inside Buzz, which he is the founder of, as he mentioned, getting close to 3 million followers on his various platforms. If you are not one of them, be sure to check him out, Instagram and Facebook, the like. For Mikey, I am Randy Kure. This is What's Up the Sports Podcast on Facebook and Twitter at What's Up Podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.